Holy cow! Professor, we are back. It is Wednesday, and the Dynamite Duo is going to go over the July 5th edition of AEW Dynamite. But we watched AEW Dynamite both separately and together, and honestly, John, I mean, not to spoil my feelings on it, but it was a pretty darn good show this week.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was a lot of fun. AEW still continues to crank out these really great shows. Again, we'll talk about the nitpicky things and whatnot. They're in Canada, so they're feeding off all that Canadian energy, which the crowds there have just been ridiculous.
But to start us off, we're going to jump in this quick. I love how when AEW does this, unlike WWE, it's not a promo per se, but it's a nice little hit of like, here's what we're expecting that goes straight into the first match. We get a backstage little segment where your favorite person who doesn't really do well in his promos, Darby Allin, for the first time in forever, comes up and like really sets up, I have an emotional connection to what's about to happen here. Keith Lee, you've been on the back foot, and I know you don't like your tag partner, but you got to get on this. So in general, getting him set up like that and getting him jazzed, and then you told me you loved Keith's response to that before we even got in the match.
I thought that was great. I love seeing, Keith being friends with the two tiniest white kids in the entire roster. I think that's really adorable to me. I really enjoy the rapport they have. There's something about it that's just like, this is really cool. We'll talk about after the match, what happens afterwards at the very, very end of that. But of course, Darby goes out there, runs his mouth, says all these things, get your head in it, do this. Are you going to have this match? Are you going to cry? And then Keith just, with the action hero line of the day, just ballsy, stupid, but ballsy. Like that nails that. It's like, okay, I'm in. I'm 30 seconds into AEW. It's like, well, okay, I got to sit here and watch the whole thing now. I have no reason to turn away.
And you get that charisma that Keith Lee has. They haven't seen in a while. You got the eyebrow raise. It was a good way to get you involved without having to start with a match, which they've done before. So this is how you do it WWE. Quick, to the point, nice little emotional beat. So we go right into the next match, which is part of the blind tag team eliminator tournament of Doom for the Owen Hart Cup Majig. There's so many tournaments going on.
Cup of Majig.
But we go straight into that first match, and it is Keith Lee and Swerve versus Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. And Orange and Darby come in. A lot of little kids in Darby makeup this time. People like getting to the stuff like that, which was great to see. I think Darby's big there because he's from Washington, so obviously close by.
I mean,
and then you have
Canada Light. Like, it's the same thing.
Pretty much. It's part of Canada. It's where it like touches like the top part of Maine just is Canada. But and then we come out with Swerve and Keith Lee, and Swerve comes out with his entire entourage. He's all on it, and Keith Lee walks out and walks up to one of the gates of agony and just kind of looks at him like, butts by him, goes right through. Like, I'm saying, yes, that's
throws
awesome.
that high school shoulder right at him, and just keeps on walking. It's like, that was great.
And I love that, like, throughout the match, the Mogul Embassy knows that they have to be on Keith Lee's side, but at the same time, they're almost like interfering to stop him from doing stuff.
Right.
Because that, and I love that the storytelling of Keith Lee, while trying to win the match, both he and Swerve are getting their shots in on each other because they still hate each other so much. But it was everything from, like, you start with a kind of little back and forth. Keith's in there beating people up. It's like two small children trying to take on a giant oak tree.
Yeah.
Then you've got Swerve tagging himself in. Couple of big moves. Keith comes back out of it. There's some saves. I loved it. Like the span. I think Simon Miller put it best. That literally Darby. They forgot that Darby and Orange came into the match with like stored finishers and signatures already ready to go because they were like signature. Like nothing was working. Nothing was going on Keith Lee until they both started like attacking the crap out of him.
I thought that was a lot of fun. This is one that my son saw over my shoulder because he was playing and doing something else. And all he saw was Darby Allin fly 1,000 feet into the air, into the ground, getting tossed by his head. And my son went and jumped on the couch and went, do that again. I want to see that again. It's like, yeah, you can watch a grown man throw that guy. Go ahead.
Oh, of course. Sure. And my line of the night was also in this one as well because Cassidy got in after tagging himself in. And usually it's the small kicks and then the little super kick. But today it was a slap, a chop, double chop, and then he's like, come on to Keith Lee to do his double chop. Lee winds up and just flattens Orange Cassidy, and from commentary here, oh, be careful, Orange is bruised.
That's a good line. I liked the commentary team last night. I think they pulled back just enough to where I was willing to listen to them, as opposed to let me tell you everything I need to tell you right now. I was like, hey, calm down.
That's mostly when they're on like either ramp up to a pay-per-view or like have to get everything in. Like this is after the pay-per-view. Yeah. They can settle into like some storylines. So
yeah,
I think it's always good. Excalibur is wonderful as usual. Taz is Taz. We're going to have Taz. And Shivani, when he jumps in, is kind of fun as well.
I get the feeling that theater people out there will understand. There's a play called Actor's Nightmare where there's a series of, there's one actor that's just going through 3 different plays and they don't have a script for those plays. It definitely feels like, Excalibur is reading the script and did Excalibur's homework. Taz is reading it for the first time and Tony Schiavone has last week's script. Like, there's no way they're coherent at any time. Tony Schiavone might have a script from the 80s, and he's just going, here's a line with an exclamation point. Like, just says
Funny you bring that up. If you listen to the end of this show, there was a full WCW from the 80s or 90s thing of like, and we're out of time!
Oh, yes, there is, yeah. And my YouTube TV cut off. I had to go find it. It was hilarious.
I watched the British thing, the British feed, and I saw that coming around the back, and I saw the end of it. But that's later in the thing. I'm with you on that one, too, because Taz in general also... it's not that he's just seeing it for the first time. He doesn't realize how words are pronounced. Like, he's like one of those people
Sure.
I've read all these things before, but I've never spoken before. And so it's coming out that way. And like, it can be distracting at times. And then he and Shivani going back and forth. They're like, are you okay? Are you okay? Or is this dementia? Like, what's happening? Do you smell toast? But it ends up where Cassidy and Darby Allin move on in the tournament, beating Swerve and Keith Lee, which opens them up to have some more matches together. I want to see them finish that feud finally. Mm-hmm. I'm glad Keith Lee is back on our screens being dominant Keith Lee, and Swerve, as usual, is an amazing heel. Keep that going there. I gave that. This honestly was one of my matches of the night. Like, it was close to being match of the night, but it was right there. And it's a great opener for the show.
Yeah, Keith Lee took some shots. Like, was definitely just I'm gonna smash all y'all and take my moment. And then the second half of this match, Keith ate everything. Ate like 3 or 4 DDTs. Ate all that
full meal.
Yeah, full meal of pain. And then is smiling at the end and still has that sort of cool kid fist bump thing at the end. Like, I like you guys though. Okay, good luck. Like, wow, this is...
Did you like also Darby going out in the crowd and like signing a bunch of stuff for all the kids in the Darby paint? He stayed afterwards and was doing that stuff, and Keith Lee's hugging the guy. And
you have to.
Then we had a hype package after that for a... this was heartfelt. I almost felt like this should have been like multiple weeks of hype packages versus just the one. But if you don't know, Nick Wayne is a 18-year-old wrestler who is now joining the AEW. He was given a contract a couple of years ago because he was the son of the teacher of Darby Allin, who sadly died a couple of years ago, and Darby Allin took it upon himself to help train and mentor him. Yeah. And now he's of age to be able to come in. So green, fresh-faced kid who's been wrestling since he was 14 with a dad who wrestled. It's going to be interesting to see, and they're pairing him up with Swerve. So this is going to be an insane match. I don't think he's coming out a winner, but it should be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I thought this was it stood out to me how, I don't want to say random, that's not what I mean, but how gear shifty that was. Whiplash even, where it was like, watch this trios match. Boom, now heartfelt Darby Allin telling you a story you may or may not have heard. It's like, oh my God.
Well, but you got Darby Allin twice, so.
Yeah, double the Darby.
So I wish Nick Wayne luck. I hope this comes out well. And he seems to have a good setup around him to kind of shepherd him through into the next part. For me, when watching the video package as well, he looks like a very young Will Ospreay. So that says a lot for him.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
Good.
He's bleeding in matches, doing house shows and hustling stuff. Yeah. So it's not a question of heart and fearlessness. It's a question of long-term maturity. I hope they don't do like the WWE thing, the old school thing, where it's just, here you are, you're on your own, figure it out. They'll
stick him with someone on like Rampage and get him after he does his debut. They'll put him on Rampage, get him some reps. I think it'll be fun.
If they do what WWE did to Cody and make Cody take the long road, even though Cody probably needed the maturity, needed whatever, but 4 or 5 years there of really tough hardship. I'm pulling for him. I want him to succeed. I just hope that it's not such an I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't suck.
We move into another backstage thing, which had to happen, didn't have to happen. I love the fact that Tony Schiavone stood in front of the damn vehicle and made them turn more than that. Like, he nearly got run over. I know, it's like old man crosses in. Old man crosses into road, nearly gets run over again. Jungle Boy pops out and is like, I'm going to go take care of this right now. And Hook just appears like a hoodlum out of nowhere and beats the crap out of him. Yeah. As they speed off. And they sped into the arena this time. So I'm like, where is that security guard?
That was interesting too.
Knocked over.
But then Jack Perry says, I'm going to go to Tony Khan's office in Edmonton, and I'm going to demand an FTW title match, and then we never see him again. So it's like he turned around and drove back someplace. I don't know.
But he drove into the arena. Like,
into the arena,
car
right?
Couldn't go anywhere.
No. I don't know if I maybe I need to warm up to it some. I don't know if I'm buying this character of Jack Perry heel. It feels really shoehorned. This one was a little better. That first one from last week where it was just, I'm going to be the bad guy and run my mouth wearing a leather jacket. Fine.
And then run like a 4.240 out of the
hella
arena,
fast. So. Even on the replay, I was like, damn, I forgot. You were crazy fast.
Yeah. But that was kind of a weird, like, again, gear change from one like heartfelt promo to this. And it's something I don't think we needed to keep furthering that on this one. You could have had something other than that, but like it was there. But then we go into our first match proper again. Another trios match. So a lot of trios matches tonight, which was kind of fun. It was the Acclaimed coming out to go up against the Blade and the Bollywood Boys, formerly the Singh Brothers in WWE. And they got the jobber entrance, which is sad because the Blade was basically removed from his teammate, the Butcher, who's going to be on the show later in the night, and taking on these guys. And the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, they are over as hell in Canada. They were so good.
They are adored, and they had a blast. Like, it wasn't a squash match at all because there was a lot of great technical stuff that happened in here, and it was fun. But it was, if you've been watching, you're like, oh, I kind of know where we're going.
Easily. Like, and, they pulled off the scissor leg drop, which was great. I love seeing the WhatsApp leg drop, which they do that. Daddy Ass went nuts for a while, and, it was a quick, easy, like, build momentum match. Yes, thank you to the Bollywood Boys for selling their butts off, as they usually do. But it was made really not to even have the match better. It was the post-match angle with QTV's Harley Cameron popping back up, saying that she's upset. She's gonna prove she's the best best musician in a wrestling company. It's not hard to beat that bar. But then setting it up next week, and then awkward pause, and then Daddy Ass just turns around to yell, "Suck it!" So again, really awkward exchange, not well done. I still love the Acclaimed.
I still wonder if we talked about this even 2 weeks ago, I think, when we got up into Canada, how much of this was a Canada crew or Canadian crew, or how much was the timing or script layouts of stuff. Right. Because it sounds like it shouldn't matter, but sometimes it does in the beats of a 2-hour thing of when this promo is or isn't, or when's that happening or that. What's also hard is when some of this is prepackaged, like we were talking about. If you have, if I'm a producer and I know I have a Jack Perry and Hook spot, I can put anywhere basically. And then I got mismatch. Well, I have to put this here and that here. So yeah, you're really banking on the energy of things, which, this one kind of fell flat.
Yeah, you're also up in like Edmonton, like in the home, like close to the heart of like Hart Dungeon country. Like, you could have done something outside with them. You could have had a lot more stuff to do with that. There was a couple references to that as we went along there a little bit, but
we'll talk about it. Yeah.
So right now after that, we had a package on Eddie Kingston winning the NJPW Strong title off of Kenta over at their big event there, which is humongous. Eddie Kingston finally getting a championship in a long time. Yeah, and then they cut to Jon Moxley responding to this and saying, like going back into what the relationship really is, finally setting that context for you, John, that you haven't had for a couple weeks.
That I've been waiting for, Mm-hmm.
And I found it funny because the week before, Renee Paquette said, Eddie, you've got to fix this. Whereas John looks like he's reaching out to try to fix it. Do we get an Eddie Kingston heel turn? Are they trying to make him their partner of blood and guts now because Danielson is broke? Like, where is this leading to get him to call each other?
There was this weird empathy underneath this spot, right? There was this strange kind of like, I came up with you, I'm friends with you, and now you're building a history. You have this sort of VHS footage from 2009, and then you have this sort of grainy footage from Japan right now with Eddie, and then you have Jon Moxley. So you're creating this sort of cinematic empathy type of narrative out of nowhere, and you've had Jon Moxley the Bruiser for the last 6 months. So It can be dictating a little bit of a turn. We might be going somewhere.
I think it's honestly for blood and guts because they're down Danielson. They can't have him for BCC, but right now Eddie's with the Elite, and I thought he was going to be their partner for it, and they've got Takeshita to fill in there. So
But
I don't know.
Eddie hates that one guy who's in Claudio.
Claudio.
He hates this guy. So then, how are you gonna? You've written yourself into a corner.
Except they hadn't, because back a couple years ago there was a blood and guts match between the Jericho Appreciation Society and the BCC, and Moxley and Claudio and Wheeler and Eddie were on a team together, and Eddie actually cohabitated with Claudio. So this is interesting.
Why do they? So they randomly hate each other a year later?
No, they don't randomly. So this hate is kind of like a work shoot. Like it's partially because there is animosity between the two wrestlers in real life from the indies, like Chikara and all that stuff. Like they just they have a thing where Eddie didn't feel respected by Claudio, and Claudio felt like Eddie was a slob. And it's always bubbled.
We talked about this on the other podcast, I think, at one point, trying to build all this.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's still there, but they put it aside in that match, I think, for a payday to be able to do it. But they always played it up like something was going to happen there.
Sure.
I feel like you could get mileage out of that where, like, Moxley wants to bring Kingston in. Kingston sets the thing like, I can't have Claudio on the team. And now there's that internal fighting of, like, who does Moxley turn to?
Do you think Moxley just starts bleeding when he talks?
Oh, he was there. He literally breathed, and all of a sudden it was like right down the face.
And action, and blood just comes out of parts of his face.
They don't call him the sanguine sailor for nothing, but you know.
I don't think those stitches didn't look good in that promo.
They weren't stitches. They were like beeswax or something. They just
Yeah, I know. There was something
plugged a hole.
Not quite right about that Spirit Halloween scar on his face.
The maple syrup sticky because he goes up there.
Oh, that's right.
This next part, I wish they'd done more of this for this Blind Eliminator Owen Hart Cup Tag Bajigger Tournament of Champions of the Night of Champions champion.
Tournament Jigger, yeah.
Because it's so much fun to watch people find out who their tag partner is. Like the MJF one was good, but I would love where they walk out with their music waiting and they don't know who's going to follow them out.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If you're going to make it random, make it random.
This was fun, though. So and I love the interaction. This is a well-scripted little thing there. Matt Hardy is waiting to figure out who his tag partner is. It's Jeff. Oh, my brother. That's awesome. Jeff Jarrett. I hate Jeff Jarrett.
I hate Jeff Jarrett.
Honestly, I love what AEW has done this year. If not working good storylines, they have come up with some interesting concepts.
Yeah.
Or at least like percolated some interesting concepts to make them more fun so that I want to watch these new stipulations. So seeing this blind, you get a blind tag partner, which happens normally in other places. Like all of a sudden we'll put a random team together, but this is for a specific tournament to win, to get a shot at the tag titles. Like I love that. I love, everything to do with this right now. So
I think AEW, Tony Khan is willing to take the risk. And what's great is the way that he's been setting them up is either we're going to take this risk. Either it's going to fail, but be kind of funny and fun, or it's going to work and we can lean on this for a few months.
So we got that nice interaction, and then we had another promo. So this was a very promo-heavy show for AEW, a first one in a while, but they really leaned into the Canadian aspect of it. You had to play it all up there. You get a babyface pop for the Ocho Chris Jericho, like his eighth persona. And he was digging into his back catalog. He was using older catchphrases. He really was like playing it up because he can't get booed there.
No.
They sang his theme song so wonderfully, and you're right. He made a Heart Dungeon reference where he read the crowd as they were not into it, or he was supposed to be heelish about it, and he wanted to explain, but they were right there with him.
He mentioned Stu. He's like, Stu Hart, and the crowd went, Stu! And he leans over and he's like, why are you going to boo Stu Hart? And then Tony Schiavone jumps on correctly and goes, they're saying Stu, for those of you paying attention.
But just to get that out of it, so there were some boos he thought that were there, and then the utter boos started from another Winnipeg native, Don Callis.
I still don't know. I mean, Don Callis serves a role, fine. I'm warming up to his role, fine. Maybe I just don't know enough of the AEW Don Callis history because I watched early on and I was gone and whatever else.
Well, this has been him in every company he's gone to. He is the heat magnet and the mastermind, and this is what he's good at. He is literally one of the best to get go-away heat everywhere.
Yeah. I didn't hate this, but you're right. I was getting kind of burned with promos because by this point we're coming up on like 35 minutes of commercials and promos. Nothing had happened.
But it set up the whole thing of like Callis saying that he was the mastermind behind getting Jericho to NJPW to take on Kenny Omega, which I didn't know, and it could be a storyline. and just feeling that seething and that building. And at the same time, Jericho, after that whole Painmaker thing, he's gotten decently stale. The JAS is stale.
Yeah.
To see this and to swerve us just enough where, like, you think he's either going to say no or yes, and he doesn't. He says maybe. I'm interested. I'm interested to see what happens, because then we have another thing in the back, with that'll set that up later on, which I actually enjoy as well. But it's going to be pretty cool to see where this goes for now.
I think, maybe keeps it interesting. I'd either answering yes or no right in that moment. I don't know if I think you're right. They had to lean on face Jericho because you're in his backyard. And he's literally talking about driving around on all these tiny streets and freeways.
Yep.
And, you're not going to get that out of him. So you kind of have this. I don't think it doesn't speak to me like it's going to be a bigger turn than what it was. It's just sort of
probably not. It's going to be going more heelish. But
in Canada, I'm a hero. I go down to the States. They're going to hate me because they hate me better there. I don't know. I think if anything, like you said, like I'm interested.
Yeah,
but it's where are you going? Where are we going?
It was also a kind of a cut and paste. Like you have CM Punk in Chicago, you're going to do the same thing. Like it's just basically what it was. But
sure,
kept things moving. Then we had another backstage.
And we're backstage again.
WWE level. But here, I want to ask you, Mr. Acting Coach, Mr. Professor here. Adam Cole going between trying to deal with his friend and also sort of smiling and being on top of, like, MJF, like, sending him funny stuff. Like, I liked the little subtle nods he had to that where he's like, I'm paying attention when I got a text. Oh, yeah, it's so stupid, but I'm kind of, like, into it. But it's so stupid.
I think that's where they're going. I think the goal might be, and this is now rom-com land, where it's going to be MJF has been chasing the girl, and now the girl is finally kind of interested, and then something happens to MJF, and they break up.
I think it was put best. Someone else had said where MJF has this thing where he for all of his heelishness, he wants to be accepted by those people he's looked up to in this business, and he wants to be like with them, but as soon as he starts to get a little purchase, his paranoia kicks in. He's like, no, I need to be better. I have to be this. And he self-sabotages and breaks himself down. But I loved... So I don't know if you got... In the video package, they also showed of those two going to the gym, which was freaking hilarious as well.
So did we skip that? Did we not talk about that?
It's right before this. I missed it as we went along there.
But okay.
It had popped up right there.
We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it.
I wanted to know, did you get the Tony Schiavone reference? It's just like, are they just making fun of Schiavone? Do you know why they're making fun of him?
Do you know why they're making fun of? Well,
right.
Specifically, no. I guess. Why are they making?
So, MJF hates Schiavone. We know this. He always does. Tony Schiavone is really good friends with Britt Baker, who is Adam Cole's girlfriend. And there was a whole little line there when he was a heel, like, Schiavone, leave her alone. Like, stop it, Schiavone. So Adam Cole doesn't like Tony Schiavone because he's too close to Britt Baker. So that's why they bonded on, like, we both hate Tony Schiavone.
That's great. I thought watching MJF straight up lift 315 like a few reps and then pulling the camera in so we couldn't see Adam Cole obviously getting help for the 30 reps of 315
doing this because you could see it going sideways.
Right, was quick, I thought that was great. I called this last week because I really wanted this to start turning into a budding friendship buddy cop thing. And this was the first vignette, so I was dying of laughter at this. I thought it was great. I thought they were selling it perfectly. Now I'm interested. Now I want to know because
I want them to go far in this tournament. It's going to be so much fun.
I want to see them. If not win, then something. I hope they win because now we can have 6 months of this.
Well, and on top of this, they're setting up the other thing too. Like MJF is trolling all of wrestling right now by trying to get over the simplest of moves, like the headlock takeover with Darby. He wants their tag team finish to be a double clothesline. So they're going to work toward when they finally pull up that double clothesline. So
it's hilarious.
So they come out. Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, and the Butcher get a jobber entrance, which sucks because they actually cut a promo on Twitter. I was telling the professor about this, where they came up with their team name, which was Magic Meat, which I love, and they're really great. But then we have MJF come out to his thing and cut his own music off to let Adam Cole in, and he basically does the same poses. He sets him up for all his moves, all the taunts, and they do it together. It was like they were a really like put together tag team. It was such good storytelling.
They were lovely as a tag team. I feel like they're so good individually And
Yeah.
watching them in the ring play it as a tag team was just, you would have thought they were a tag team for years and years at some point. Like, they're just
And
so
MJF
fun.
tempting Cole to turn to the dark side. Like, here,
Yeah.
help me do the
Help
old school
me
thing,
do
like
this
pull
thing.
the abdominal
Yeah.
stretch.
And
You know,
I think that's what it's going to be. This might even help Adam Cole, I think, a little bit, being this face
Yeah.
turning heel, and then you get this MJF heel, kind of, but I like you in a different way. Now we're starting. we'll talk about that in a second. We're seeing that little hint of, oh, you're human, MJF. Now,
Yeah.
I just want a friend. Can you
You're
just
that
be
fan
my
again.
friend? And there's this little doe eye, like you see it in the gym promo. You see it kind of here. It's sort of like, I just want to be cool with you. Can
When
I be
he's-
your friend?
When he's jumping up and down outside on the apron, going double clothesline,
Double clothesline.
double clothesline.
Double clothesline. I thought this match was great. I thought Magic Meat. I thought Magic Meat was great.
Magic Meat's awesome. They were a fun tag.
I thought they had a lot of fun. I think they knew that they had to sell everything, and they were like,
That was their job.
"This is our job, is to sell." Although MJF did a good 5 minutes of squash, like he got beat up and sold
Right, and he
everything.
does that so well to come. Like
No.
MJF is an amazing overall wrestler. It's very
Absolutely.
good to see there. But it didn't stop there. They won the match. They got them out of there. MJF was cut the music. He wanted to bring up something else, and then he's like setting Adam Cole up to do Adam Cole baby, like setting him up to do like do the thing, and they all do it, and then he throws him a birthday party. Like,
It's your birthday! Happy birthday! And then massive stadium streamers and all hell breaking loose. My
which
question,
he's wearing them like a cape. I love it. He like still had it over him.
It fell, and he knew. He was just like, "This is perfect." Adam Cole breaks twice here.
Oh my god! I'm glad you caught those.
Did you see it? There's
Yes,
a part.
yes.
I think he knew there was going to be like, I think MJF set him up to say, "I'm going to sing Happy Birthday to you. Be ready." And he was like, "Okay, sing Happy Birthday." What he wasn't expecting was, "Fuck off, streamers," and all these other folks coming down with the cake and stuff. But Adam Cole straight up laughs, and you see it right after the streamers. He just goes, and he turns his back, and the cameras know, okay, don't catch him now. Wait for it. And then when the group of stagehands and or local Edmonton wrestlers comes out with cake, they cut to him just in time to see Adam Cole like smile a little and then be like, "No, I'm serious though. But I'm serious though." Like trying to really stay in that moment.
Well, because he's going to turn to the camera and wink at him like Ferris Bueller, and he says, "I'm going to shove this face in the cake."
I thought that was a lot of fun. It tells me Adam Cole and MJF are having a blast, just coming up with ideas.
That was my match of the night. That was literally my match of the night.
And that's I love you, Kenny Omega. We should have switched some spots here. Maybe this should have been the closer of the night.
Kind of think so too.
Because it kind of killed your momentum. It kind of got a little gear shifty after
They
this.
ended with brutality, where I think that would have been a better visual to look on. Is Max sitting in the ring, covered in streamers, covered in cake, Adam hopping down, smiling as he's walking away after saying, "Thank you, my friend." Which just ooh,
And
and Roderick Strong's watching the back and all that good stuff.
And
So-
MJF gets the, "It's my friend," and Roderick Strong's in the back with a hurt neck. Like, ooh.
Speaking of hurt necks, we move on to our next promo of the night, where the whiplash on Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia is evident because they're sitting there going, "You didn't say no. Aren't we in a faction with you? What's going on here?" And Jericho's telling him to fly off, which is like, Guevara's been looking for that. Daniel Garcia's not ready for that yet.
Right.
And now they're put together. Like, we find out they're a tag team in the tag team blind Owen Hart tournament jigger tournament of champions, night of champions, bash at the beach. You know, like it's but they're like, they know each other, and so it's kind of like that would still have been fun. Like, oh yeah, I'm excited out there as my friend from the JAS comes down, but now that's going to set up that way. It's going to be. I want to see how this turn happens and whether they finally break away and do their own things. But it was just kind of like, we didn't need that this week. We could have had it like next week to set that in motion a bit more. But it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Again, gives us something to look forward to. Very much needed that. But then we get our women's match, which was hard hitting, really well put together. Surprising that Britt Baker has plot armor enough to get around the Outcasts enough, even though losing didn't get beat up by them or anything else.
Yeah.
Ruby Soho, severely underutilized. Really good wrestler. Really good at ring psychology. Those two together. It's just the thing is, I know there's the worry with those two because of injuries that have happened between the two of them and whether they're going to feel safe working together. And then, it's just where it needed to be. It was it could have gone another 3 or 4 minutes and been fine.
Yeah.
But I love the women's matches are amazing. We need more women's matches, or at least a women's show. We need something to says that you have the depth. Do it, Tony.
Do it. I don't know. And WWE has this problem as well. It's sort of like there are these one-offs. And it's like, you have so much time. Put them in there. They were over. The crowd was all in on this. They watched all of it. I
watched all of it.
I mean, I watched it all. I thought Britt Baker was fantastic. We saw the strength of Britt Baker there a few times with some of those moves, which I don't want to say you forget the strength in women's wrestling, but sometimes you need to be reminded, oh, yeah, they're athletes.
And Britt Baker especially has been one who has beat herself up, has been in those hardcore bloody matches.
Yeah.
It's tough, but we get the end. We get the runaway instead of the beat up afterwards. Like they steal a win for the Outcasts, and Sky Blue appears behind Ruby Soho, and nothing happens. You didn't have time for like a beat down by the Outcasts. You didn't have time by anything else, or like Britt Baker to come and sit. But then we get to, like after this entire thing, which I was still invested. Everything was fine for all of the different like talking bits. I was waiting for more good action. And I knew they were giving this as much time as possible. We got to our main event, Kenny Omega versus Wheeler Yuta, and Wheeler Yuta coming out and like lambasting, like, I beat you, I pinned you, I'm good, being that really annoying heel to do this. And it was hard hitting from the get-go, and like as scary as the injury or close to injury that Kenny got during Forbidden Door with the Tiger Driver 99, the fact that Yuta went after that injury and just kept hitting him it was brutal.
How much of, so I know the injury to Kenny is the injury, I mean, this is fourth wall stuff, this is kayfabe stuff. Are we playing the injury like it's that bad, or was it an injury that's I'm okay, but let's sell it as I'm really injured, throw some extra tape on there?
That's what I'm thinking it is, because it looked like the same kind of thing they're doing with Orange Cassidy right now, with like him having wear and tear from all of these matches. I think that Kenny got a stinger. I think that he landed on his neck, and it probably wasn't the best for him. And you could see he's like moving around, but it was a good way to give him that kind of like kryptonite there that someone could focus on. So he can't get down to lift him up with his neck for the one-winged angel. He can't do others. It was a good way to do it, and I think they put extra tape on there to make it look worse than it was. And I love that it was slowly revealed as his hair moved. It wasn't like all the way down his back. It was like, oh, he's injured. Yeah. And, it just, those two worked so well. It was, I mean, Kenny Omega can have a great match with a blow-up doll. I've seen it happen. But,
that was Kenny Omega?
Kenny Omega did one of those. He also fought a 10-year-old girl, which was ridiculous. Like,
I've seen that one too. I forgot that was Kenny Omega. All right, that's right.
That's early Kenny Omega. But Yuta needs to go on a raid. He needs a mid-card title. He needs something in there to get him there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he needs a push in a different direction. He's stuck in the middle of a faction. I think what was hard is this was running over. I don't buy. Okay, if every match ends with an attack after the bell, why? It's too easy, in my opinion. Now it's. I know it's a wrestling trope, and we see it all the time. But if it's always pin, win, someone's friend, like immediately jumps in there.
They've got to ride that line of whether it's an attack after the bell and after the match, or it's an attack during the match to stop the match and be a DQ. And AEW is known for not having a lot of DQ finishes. So you have to set it up some other way to continue a storyline there.
Yeah.
And they're finishing their end of it. And the thing is, this one crashed 3 storylines together at once.
Right.
Which was not, it felt like it was overloaded, and then it cut off. And Shivani goes, "We're out of time," as the action's still going, and, like very old WCW levels of stuff. So
I don't know if I buy angry heel Takeshita yet. And then sort of, we've talked about this before, where it's just sort of everyone's in the ring. The Young Bucks are here. Adam is here. Everyone's in the ring. They got chairs. It's over. It's like, wait.
The Dark Order comes to stop the chairs.
Every faction shows up. And what's this guy doing?
The JAS. Oh my God, it's early Knots DX. What the hell?
It's the entire
Mega Powers are here. Randy Savage is back from the grave.
It's the 1976 Philadelphia Flyers. They're here. Everybody's
It's the Koloffs.
And I get it. If you're going to, although some of that would be kind of funny doing the whole carnival aspect of it. I don't know. I think it's too easy at this point. Like, if you're just ending stuff, always ending it with someone jumping in at the end of the match. So I don't hate
Professor,
it.
Professor, I've got to ask.
Go ahead.
What would you rate this show? Now that you've been watching regularly, now that you're kind of tuned in some stuff, what is the Professor's grade
Ooh,
for AEW Dynamite July 5th?
It's a solid B. I enjoyed it. It could have gone higher if we had a little bit of a better timing. I would have loved to see the women's match go a little longer for sure.
Maybe remove a promo and put another women's match in. Something.
Maybe when you have 40 minutes of promos, did you really need 40 minutes of promos? Like, did you?
Who are you, Vincenzo Macaroni?
Like, you don't need Matt Hardy, Jeff Jarrett. You didn't need Hook and Jack Perry. You could probably trim some other stuff in there and then give another 5 or 6 minutes to Britt and Ruby Soho. I mean, that would have been fantastic too. Yes. I know the birthday joke probably ran a little long. Fine. There's some of it that I use this word too much, but it got a little clunky. Where it's like, okay, where are we going? As far as the wrestling and performance of the wrestlers, absolutely fantastic, beautiful job as always because they're professionals and all of my favorites did well, had a lot of fun, and a kid got his toy signed. I mean, that's a good job.
Yeah. And a bunch of pictures otherwise. I will agree with you on this one. I'll give it a grade of about a B-. B. Very good there. To me, I also, in speaking in your language again, it was a decent round of close quarters improv. It was not the best Herald I've ever seen. It was not up there with like TJ and Dave, but it was definitely like close quarters done by a team that's been together for about 2 years. Like, just right around there.
If you get any of those references, you're over 35 and probably live in Chicago. It felt like they were having fun. And I think that's what made me want to watch.
And I hope that it continues into the next week as they come back to the U.S.
Yeah.
I had a good time with this. I had a better time talking to you about this because, as usual, you are an amazing person to watch wrestling with.
Thank you.
Continue to tune in. Thank you so much for listening to the Vibe Tribe, to the BCC, the BC Vibe Tribe here. We are the Bi-Conics. We are the Dynamite Wednesday duo. That has been the Professor. I have been JVL. And just always keep it tight. Keep it there.
Ski team. Yeah, have a good time.
Ski team. Ski team.